Where's Kevin?
Hearing micros for me.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here, those of you that are here. Just a few quick updates. If you're headed to conference, here's some reminders about signing up in time to get the best price, and then housing and flights. Volunteer hours, if you are going to conference, make sure you have enough hours for Dean's reimbursement. And then I'll make sure the volunteer list is updated by this afternoon, and email me if you have any questions. Our next meeting will be February 21st. Dr. Bay is going to be speaking about working with children in the LGBT community. So that should be a really good meeting. It's going to be early again, but I will bring coffee. And then today we have Alec and Matt here, and they are from Western Mutual. So they're going to share with us. Helpful?
Yeah.
Just let's have a group comment. How about that?
Wow.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I'm Alec. This is Matt. We are partners. Can they hear us, I think?
Yeah.
Probably close enough.
Nice. Yeah, we're with Northwestern Mutual. I don't know if you guys have heard of Northwestern at all. You have?
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a sign on
There's a sign.
Colorado.
There's a sign. We do financial planning. It's a lot of different things, right? We're dealing with a couple different areas: insurance planning, risk management planning on that side of thing, and also investments, wealth accumulation, all that stuff. Maybe you guys have never thought. Maybe you have. I don't know. Got about 10 years of experience between the two of us. We're in the tech center. I'm kind of like South Tech Center area. What else you want to add?
We have an office downtown.
Yeah,
We're kind of all over.
yeah.
Well, I'm excited to be here this morning, and now that I've had like 2 sips of coffee, I'm wide awake. I don't know about you guys, but so thanks again for having us, and we're excited to share with you. Probably informally, just Q&A mainly. We have a few things we want to make sure we cover that are probably most top of mind for everyone listening in the room. And this is pretty common for us, so we go through different medical schools like CU Denver's dentistry school. Up at Anschutz, we'll meet with residents up there at the hospital. So we try to do these kind of educational presentations for a few reasons. One is that you all have a different type of planning opportunity being in the medical field. So there's different tool strategies, products, needs that you'll have than most other people. A lot of times you recognize some of the risks that other people don't see every day. So it's just a niche that we've actually chosen to work with dentists, doctors, surgeons, therapists, you name it. We want to work mainly with medical people. So our intent coming in again is at a minimum just teach you something. And then if you ever want to reach out, if you have questions, great. And then also just candidly, we do try to build relationships with people before they've graduated, knowing that we can bring value on some of those early professional things you can do, so that when you are in your career and you're getting called by a bunch of different financial advisors, that we would hope that if we built a good relationship, we'd actually already be working with you. So that's why we're in it for the long run. But that's our objective today, is really just bring knowledge, and if we can help later, great. So we wanted to open it up to Q&A to start.
What kind of topics do you guys want to
I'll take notes now. Sorry, I'll get rid of this.
If anybody have any questions.
I mean, do you guys think would be like loans? Like, how do you?
We figured that out tomorrow.
Smart way doesn't pay off them.
Yeah. So that'll cover that. What else?
Anything. Nothing stupid.
I don't know, maybe like savings plans, or you know what I mean? Once I actually have an income.
Yeah.
Like maybe how to set up like retirement plans.
Yeah.
To set you up so you have big bucks when you retire.
Heck yeah.
Whenever that even happen.
What else? I don't know if they have the ability to.
It's not live, is
That's
it?
No.
I guess you could throw in investments in there.
Mm-hmm.
Investments.
We'll put that right here. All right.
Maybe basic budgeting, you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else are we thinking about?
Yeah, budgeting. Oh, has anyone talked to you all, this was our last thought, about insuring your income, disability insurance? Have you maybe heard of that before?
I've heard disability insurance, but it's the same thing as like insuring your income.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and that's where you might have had someone already speak to you or not, but you can actually begin to start protecting the future income you're going to make before you're making it when you're in a medical profession. So that's part of a special deal that you all get to have. So we'll talk a little bit about that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Those are really our 4 coming in. Then we've got this PowerPoint to kind of back us up if we run out of stuff to say. But what's our hard stop, by the way? 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
We just need to be in like the room next door at 9. So
Okay.
like 5 to
8:59. No,
Yeah.
Give you a break. Okay.
You want to start on those?
Yeah. So student loans, that's a fun topic. My goodness. I think the average person has, I don't know the new statistics, but somewhere around like 30,000. It's kind of like the average. So it's still pretty high when you think about it.
We got a lot more.
Yeah, right? 6 figures perhaps
Yeah.
worth? Yeah. So kind of the first general thing I'd mention is you don't want to overpay and just kind of try to pay all the loans down and not do number 2 at all. So I want to be debt free so badly that you put all the money toward your loans and then you might wake up 10 years from now, be debt free and have no savings. And Alec will talk a little bit about compounding interest and why that's important. Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. Got some coffee if you need it.
Oh, I'm okay, thank you.
We didn't bring it.
Catherine.
Catherine, Alec, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So on the other end of the spectrum, right, if you were just saving aggressively and not really spending too much of your loans or doing like the sheer minimum, then you might pile up a lot of savings, but you're never going to be debt free. So we try not to think about it as black or white, one end of the spectrum or the other. So part of the planning analysis we'll run for people is plugging in all their student loan, values, payments, interest rates, and seeing what at least it looks like you could pay them off in time by. And then we have a rule that plus or minus 5%. So if your interest rate is 5% or less, it's probably worth just paying the minimum on because we think that we could return better than that in another account. It's over 5%, so you see a lot like 6.8, 7, 8%. Those are the ones that are worth tackling and trying to overfund and pay down faster. Because it'd be pretty hard to guarantee, 8% rate of return. But if one of your loans is 3.5, 4, we feel pretty good about not rushing to pay that off.
Our interest rate? Like 68%.
They're all federal.
Some are, you get like some amount for federal and then you have to take out some extra on your own, depending on like what you get financially.
Yeah. I have private one. I had for the first year I did federal and then now I'm like doing private because I got that interest rate.
Right.
But I don't know what it is.
I bet it's lower. I bet you're on.
Yeah. The interest is also tax deductible on your student loans. So that's kind of good debt, so to speak. So any interest payments you make in that year, you get to reduce. So let's say you made $100,000 but $2,000 of your student loan payments that year was toward interest. Then you only have to show the IRS that you made $98,000. So you'll owe less money on the money you made. So it's a good debt, so to speak, to have. And then when it comes to different types of payment options, there's some things where, I don't know if I'm getting too in the weeds, but like, forgiveness kind of stuff, if you work in a nonprofit. And so I don't know how much you all are familiar with those. If you're like, I'm definitely just going to stick it out, try to get them forgiven in the 10-year window. There's different windows. And we have some white papers that we could email you all or just send you that kind of show that. It would be really boring if we walk through line by line. It's better to read. And then consolidation of payments. So there's also different companies. One we've used is called SoFi. You might have heard their commercials. They're really good about if you have loans from different companies and you want one payment or one, and the consolidation a lot of times could lower your overall interest rate. Then you're looking at, do I pick a fixed rate where it's probably going to be higher, but it's guaranteed fixed, or a variable rate where it's going to be lower, but it could go up. So that's another thing we look at is student loan consolidation.
I heard somewhere that they're going to stop doing like the loan forgiveness. I told them that like I was like planning on that or was going to try it. And they're like, they're not going to do that anymore.
I think Obama did it.
Or they were trying to take it away maybe.
I would think that there would be at least some sort of grandfathering, if you were, like let's say, I'm just thinking the one where it's 10 years. I know there's different ones, but let's say like 9 years in, I don't think they would completely go screw you. Right? Yeah.
That'd be so nice. Make no money and it helps out.
Yeah, like typically, for example, like in these retirement accounts, we can talk about those next. If one of the accounts was tax-free and then they changed the law, whatever you have in there has to be grandfathered in. So that's where I'm thinking of applying the same thing. So we did a brief once over on student loans. Our philosophy is let's, overpay some, not overpay others, have a plan on, which are getting paid in which way, knowing that it's not a bad debt because it's tax deductible. Any other questions though? So we'll send something out that's more of a detailed piece to that.
The last thing I'll add on that is just basically I think what you're saying is there's kind of an emotional and logical way of paying off debt. The emotional side of everyone says, I hate this debt, I'm gonna get rid of it as fast as possible. Whereas Matt and I like to, obviously we're a little more analytical, not everyone's like that. And so we like to say, well, what really makes sense? And this is case by case, right? Each of you has different amount of loans and whatever, different interest rates maybe, but what would actually make sense to be contributing to those loans? And what would actually make sense to be also saving while we're paying off it? So I think if you take away anything from talking about student loans, it's that let's figure out what makes most sense. Like I said, like a 10-year save it done, and then you really start to get in trouble for later.
Yes, and sometimes emotion trumps the math. Like we just know the retiree couple that they could probably when they retire just pay off their mortgage like $100,000, but their interest rate's 2.75%. So mathematically they should not pay off that mortgage, but they're retired. They don't want a mortgage payment. They've worked their whole life, and we're like, that's great. Just pay off your damn mortgage. Let's get it. Because it's gonna feel like a huge win. So our job's to kind of match your goals, show you the math, but kind of somewhere in the middle is normally where it lies.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys about that. Unless you guys got anything else on that. Okay. Saving, investing, retirement, it all comes down to kind of one thing. It's called compound interest. Have you guys heard of compound interest? Does anybody, do you guys like math?
No.
Okay, we're not gonna get too far into math. This is a good illustration just to show you like what the heck it is. Because the point of investing is to make more money, right? To accumulate wealth over your lifetime. That's how people become wealthy, right? Is by investing, having a rate of return on those dollars to which you have more money later, right? So that's the basics of why the heck you save, why the heck you invest. I think this is a pretty powerful example for someone who's hasn't heard of what compound interest means. If you want, or let's see, if you start saving $100 a month at these different ages, 25, 35, and 45, basically this is the amount you're going to have at 65. So the 25-year-old, if they start saving $100 a month, they'll have a couple $100,000, versus you zoom down to the 45-year-old, they have $50,000, right? So all that tells you and I and everybody that the math says start early, start as soon as you can. Back to what we were just saying, like it's just about compound interest is not necessarily about the types of investment plans you're in, how well it's invested, although that's important, right? That's why Matt and I advise on some of those things, but it's also just about starting and getting going. The younger you are, the better it's going to be for you. It's like think of a snowball effect, right? As a snowball rolls down the hill, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I mean, really, that's quite a large difference between starting at 25 to 35 to 45, money you'll have at 65. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So to give you a little more idea, so $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. Age 25 to age 65, that's 40 years. Put in 25-year-old, as an example, you put in like $48,000. Out of this $200,000, you have only contributed $48,000. And the rest, 150 and some change $1,000 is just all interest. So you did nothing. So as you kind of solidifies why it's important, right? You did nothing but just let your money sit in an investment, let it accumulate wealth. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where most people are is that they haven't, you know, like most people don't have enough to save for retirement. It's kind of scary. The statistics, I don't have them, but they're scary. So if you wait till 40, you normally have really poor habits. That's when we run into more than anything. It's kind of like working out or whatever, you know, goals or good habits you have. So not only do you have less time to save, but you have really poor habits. So we'll encounter people that are 40 years old. They might be in their peak earning years too. You know, they might be making 300, 400, 500 grand. And we're like, well, you need to save 10 grand a month. Or, oh, we can't do that because our kids are about to go to college and maybe we still have student loans or something and we've got all these bills. So there's never a right time to save. So we worked, Al and I both started when we were in college. So I started like 6, 7 years ago. So we were working with people in school, you know, about just put $10 a month into your mattress, on your mattress. Just build a habit. Because that is more of the financial coaching we do. And then the back end of where to put it, that's more just the trust that, you know, that we built, that we know what we're doing. So we really just want to save money wherever you possibly can. Even maybe in college, you know, if you guys, I should say, if you're making, if you're working at all or you have any accounts that kind of sitting around, I mean, there's ways to be efficient early, but especially when you come out of your first career. You'll have a lot of benefits through work. Do we have a page that shows like those different buckets or something?
This wasn't the best.
Yeah, we'll just flip through. We'll find some good visuals. You can tell we prepared.
Well,
It's like we're in college.
Northwestern won't let us like make our own PowerPoint for compliance. So we're kind of like, okay. So we're using their pre-approved, whatever. That's why we're not going to use it that much. But what were you saying, Matt?
Kind of getting into a little bit more of types of savings plans. So normally when you work for an employer, you'll have what's called a 401k or something with those letters. It's a tax code. So it's a retirement account. Typically you put money in and then your employer will also put some money into that for free. It's called a match. The old school type of retirement, we called the 3-legged stool. It was having a pension. Does anyone have like maybe a grandpa or grandma that has a pension? They work for like Ford Motors or like General Electric, or they were in the military, right? So they worked for like 30 years at a private company or for the public, and now they don't have to work anymore and they get a check every single month for the rest of their life, guaranteed. So that's a thing of the past. So most private companies do not offer pensions anymore. Again, that's just, hey, do your time and work here and then we'll pay it forever. So what replaced the pension is the 401k, where we all have skin in the game. So we have the burden of savings on our shoulders. We all have to save. And then the employer might incentivize you by matching. Social Security, depending on what you've heard, we think it will exist in some level, but it's scheduled to not look as good as it's supposed to. So we don't count on that for us millennials, all right? And then the third stool, the third leg that old people use was their own savings. They might save like 10%. So now it's more like we have to save 15 to 25% of our income to not work one day and to hit all our other goals. Whether it's, you know, buying your first home, and if you have children or want to have kids and their education or whatever the goal might be. So the burden of savings is on us. And the 401k, if you've heard of or had one before, that's going to be the main, like the first one. Your employer is going to set you up. It's going to be right out of your paycheck, out of sight, out of mind. So then the trap some people get into is that, well, I have a 401k, so I'm all set. So the 401k does have some tax advantages where it does not get taxed when you put the money in or when it grows. So people go, oh, that's my retirement account. There's other types of accounts like a Roth IRA that is tax-free when you take the money out, so that could be better. There's other accounts like cash value life insurance where it's not directly tied to the stock market. So is anyone familiar with right now how the market's doing in general? Amazing, horrible? Pop quiz. So last year, what was it up? I don't know, 25% or something.
Amazing is the answer.
Yeah, it was doing very, very well. But that's not common. Like every year, you're not going to get 25% rate of return on your money. Maybe you'll get like 10 in the long run. So we want to have some safer assets too. So when you're in retirement, it's not all just in the stock market.
Did that compound interest thing make sense?
Mhm.
Just at like a, I don't want to go too mathy, but like, it gives you the, gets it clicking in your head a little bit, right?
I
So
think
what
that-
kind of savings
Yeah.
plan is that? Not like, I have Wells Fargo, for example, so I
Yeah.
have a savings account and I have X amount of dollars in there, but the interest is like cents
Right.
that I'm getting on it.
Yeah.
So is it like a savings plan that you recommend getting through like your bank that you do, or like an outside savings?
So those are things that we set up for people. And
Okay.
it can come in multiple different forms. Have you heard of an IRA,
Yeah.
individual retirement account? So Matt kind of alluded to that. There's different types of IRAs, which maybe you don't want to go into today. I think we'll roll in the weeds there. So we can talk about that. Basically, at the end of the day, we're talking about investing in mutual funds. All a mutual fund is a combination of stocks and bonds, which are the two major asset classes that people invest their money in. Combine them and call it a mutual fund. And why that's important is because you've all heard, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? If Matt and I, we're financial advisors, and we don't even go invest in individual stocks and individual bonds all the time, just because that's risky, or riskier, and it's kind of like a little bit of gambling at that point. If you're trying to pick which stock or which bond or whatever is going to do well, versus just diversifying over a bunch of different stocks and bonds. Realizing that some will do well and some will do not so well, but overall your portfolio will grow. So at the end, like that is basics of investing. That's where you start. And there's different accounts in which you put those mutual funds in. For example, the IRA is probably the very first investment to start.
Let me just chime in a little bit. Actually, this might be a good segue to the budgeting. So if you guys can see this visual here. So when you make a paycheck, a lot of times it could just be spend most of it, and then whatever's left maybe save. So we try to change that mindset to pay yourself first and spend what's left. So if you're making $5,000 a month, let's make sure that $2,000 just gets put away into your financial plan. And that financial plan could constitute your savings account, your IRA, your 401k, so on and so forth. So lots of different stuff. And then the rest of that is left to be spent, and you don't feel bad about who spent every dollar that's left over. So saving, spending, putting it not all in one place, like Alex said. We'll talk about insurance in a minute here, and then if you want to tithe or give money. So what our process, just to give you an idea, we typically sit down and learn about someone's background and goals first. So what you're trying to accomplish and what you're doing to accomplish those goals. So what kind of accounts you have, what habits do you have, is there a family member you're supporting, or just everything that's going on in your life. And then we bring a financial plan to whether it's paying down debt, saving for retirement, saving for a house, whatever the case may be. And then the products just kind of figure itself out. So if the goal is to buy a house, it might be a combination of your savings and a little bit of an investment account. If the goal is to retire, it's going to be a lot more of those retirement accounts. So we try to figure out the goal and then the plan, and then the products kind of fit right into what we're trying to accomplish. Where we differ from if you just met someone that maybe worked at like an insurance, like car insurance, so they're kind of just selling insurance, they don't do investments. Then if you go to your bank, typically, if you ask to open an IRA, they'll either say, well, you got to be like a do-it-yourself, or go online, which you all are really good at stuff that we know nothing about, so you probably don't want to spend your time online investing, right? You want to focus on what you like to do. Or they might say you need, a couple $100,000 to be a client in a bank, because they kind of might just do, they look at the checking account list and like, that gal has $1 million, like, let's go call them and make them a client. Because we are self-employed, we hang our shingle at Northwestern, but we can broker out any company, insurance or investment. We're doing both sides of the house, the defensive and the offensive. That's why, just again, frankly, we can work with young single or young professionals that aren't in the peak of their career or aren't in retirement yet, that might not have $1 million to invest, might not need all the insurance in the world, but they have some needs to start building savings. And as you grow, we're there every single year. So that's just back, not to like pitch it, but more of just our philosophy again. If you're like, well, should I invest in Facebook stock or this or that? We tend to just defer all that to, well, let's look at your goals and your plan. Kind of boring in that way. We're not like day traders. I have friends that are, Well, I'm from New York, so I have friends there like Goldman Sachs, different companies, and they're pretty cool. They're hot shots. You know, like Wolf of Wall Street. I haven't seen that movie. That's like what they do. We're a lot more boring than that, which is good, I think.
We're bouncing around a ton, sorry, but
Yeah,
Go like those different topics.
this is good. We want to make sure to hit this.
Yeah, because you briefly talked about budgeting. I'll just briefly go into budgeting. Basically, we view it as there's basically three places all your money goes. Three different checks. You write yourself. Here's you make all your money, right? Your income comes in the door, and it's going three places. First place is going to your fixed expenses, right? And that's typically, let's say 50 to 60%. Of whatever you're making. Maybe you could view yourself as like a work professional for a second, right? And you're making whatever amount of money, that check's coming in the door. 50%, 60% of your income goes to fixed expenses. So what do you need to live? You need to pay rent or your mortgage, groceries, gas, insurance, whatever, those bills, right? That's typically what's going to check number one. Check number two, to Matt's point, we want to, when we say pay ourselves first, that means save first. There's two types of people. They spend first and then save. And the second type of people save first and then spend. I bet you can guess where Matt and I like our clients to be: save first and then spend. So savings, we want to say, is our second check after we pay our fixed expenses. And usually that's hovering right around 20%, roughly. And that, to Matt's point, is going into a multitude of different investments or insurance products or whatever it is that are going to help you meet your goals, right? Check number three is the fund money. And this can be, this isn't exactly, but maybe 20 to 30%, right? Whatever's left over after that is just for discretionary expenses. You want to go to the bars on the weekend, right? You want to do whatever you want. Like, that's your fund money. But if you kind of think about it in three different checks, we find that our clients do a little bit better job of saving. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like we have a budget sheet we'll use, like rent, car payment, student loan, the list goes on, insurance. And this simplifies it to having three bills instead of, you can even get into the weeds like Netflix, cell phone, like every single bill, and people just go, oh my gosh, like, I have a great budget, and we're like, yeah, your budget is you spend every dollar on 30 different things. So, fixed, paying your rent and all that. In Denver, sometimes, you all have pretty good salaries, so you won't have this issue, but it can be difficult in Denver if you have higher rent, maybe your fixed is higher, and then you're like, well, I gotta have some fun, and we know our clients won't meet with us if they're not having at least some fun. I think if it was all the savings, we'd be fired. So
we don't want to be fun suckers. We don't want to be those people, but we are the challengers where it's like, hey, you should probably save some money, That's just who we are.
Three bills. Yeah, we're really good at asking people to save the three bills.
Questions on that? How do you guys currently budget?
Don't.
Does all
Everything goes to fixed?
Yeah.
100%.
Does all your money come from your loans currently? Like your loans calculate in what you need to live right now? How does that work? You work part-time?
I work a little bit too.
I imagine it's pretty hard to work. How many credit hours do you have?
18.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
I know.
Lost track.
Show up each day.
I go back to
Yes.
the mutual thing, the mutual.
Fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
So I guess that it's like the safer choice because your money's going more places. So like some will succeed, some won't, right?
Right.
But like, is there any guarantee
No.
in it?
Zero.
Isn't that kind of scary?
It is. So you just threw us a softball because you teed us up because. So if we just had an investment strategy, we're like, these are the right stocks, yada, yada, there's still no guarantee. So that money could go down. In 2008, the most aggressive account lost 52% of its value. So if you had $1 million and you woke up the next day, you have $480,000. That same account might have gone up from $1 million to 1.5 the year before. So that you're taking risk in hopes of return. But what our clients find is as they get older, they get safer. So when you're young, if you know the retirement dollars are for age 65 or 55, we have to coach you to at least take some risk because you have so much time. You're not going to be pulling money out of that account. But as you get older, what we do is help have other dollars that aren't tied to the market. So same example, you're retired, it's 2008. Let's say your account's down, from $1 million to 750,000. You're retired, so you're not working anymore. So your check comes from your accounts. You don't go to work, you don't get a paycheck, you just take money out. Instead of selling low, because you've all heard of buy low, sell high, you have a bet. So you don't want to sell low out of your investment account. We're going to have other safer accounts that do have guarantees. So we can use accounts that are not investments technically, that we can use the G word, guaranteed. So we pull money out of that account, leave this one alone, and as the market recovers like it has, so from 2008 to 2013, it was down. Then start recovering, great, let's start selling high out of this and leave the safe account alone.
Okay.
And that really plays back to our whole planning philosophy. I mean, we encounter people every day. First of all, we encounter people that make a lot of money that don't have a pot to piss in. Like, you'd be surprised. Some of the dentists dentists their business owners are pretty. I've met some surgeons that it's a joke. Like, they're making $500,000 and their net worth is negative. Like, they're living like they're making $1 million, So saving, again, can't emphasize enough. And then just having a plan. I've met so many people that have just a 401k. And so that retirement account is the mutual fund. So they have all their money in the market and they're 65. Kind of scary. It is scary. It really is.
Well, that's a great point. And that's just how the stock market works, right? This is where that's
Right.
Historically, 90 years.
Historically, this is, okay, so we're banking on all this history telling us what it's done to help us predict what it's going to do. And what it's done is go like this, but at the end of the day, start here, you may not know here, right? So you're still going up. You just got to be able to weather the storm of the downs. That's why Matt and I have a job, because we help people create a financial plan to help them weather these storms. And honestly, a lot of our job is around behavioral coaching too. When your people are at this point, how are they feeling? They're feeling pretty crappy, right? And they're feeling kind of freaked out. And so we want to be here to consult with them and say, hey, look, we expected this to happen. We have a plan in place to combat whatever's going on, the greater economy and the macro level or whatever it is. That's a great point, though. What else?
Yeah, other open-ended questions. We'll kind of finish on that disability insurance thing, but Alec, if there's any other slides you think are valuable to hit. How are we doing so far? We've covered a lot, a little.
It's good to talk about.
Yeah, that's all. It's just hard when we don't really have like my income is maybe like a couple $100 a month.
Right.
So it's like, why save it when I can go buy yoga pants? Something else. Yeah. So it's like that's hard. And then like knowing that I just have student loans, I'm like whatever, and end up paying them off. At some point, I will keep adding to it. I know like they're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, do I save that couple hundred and not? But then what would I invest in right now as like not having a lot of $50 each month? Yeah, like $50.
Yeah.
That is saved from my.
That is the exact challenge for probably all of you when you got, well, if I save $50, like, okay, great, that's going to turn into, maybe I'll have 50 grand in retirement, but that's not, that's probably not even a year of living for you. Mm-hmm. So the math doesn't really emotionally drive us to go, well, it's 50, like, okay, I'm going to be making so much more in my career. Right. I can always catch up. And I wouldn't argue against that. I mean, you all are probably pretty young in this room, so as long as you start like relatively soon, school, it's like, I don't know. And then on the other side of things, it's back to the intangible building habits. Mm-hmm. So you can't really quantify how valuable or meaningful it could be to put $50 away. So my best story, I moved to Denver 5 years ago, and my best friend I moved out here with, he was like my first client. He was in college in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm like, hey man, you gotta give me like $25 a month and put it in this account. He's like, well, I need beer money or whatever. And I'm like, well, if you want me to be good at this career, I need you to be my client, because he wanted me to move to Denver. And he's like, okay, fine. And I asked him when we moved to Denver, he started making, like $50,000, a pretty good salary in Denver, for just like general business management, and he was saving like $500 a month. So he was making about $3,000 a month, and he was saving 500 of it. And I asked him point blank, I said, Carrie, had you not been saving $25 a month, how much do you think you would have started with that first? I mean, you see a check for $3,000 every month right out of college, like you guys are gonna see a bigger check, but you're like, damn. And he said, I'd probably would have saved like $100, $200. So that was the intangible, was it was like going to the gym. He could put more weight on the bar. Yeah.
So like even if you come home with like $10, you're saying put like 50 cents away. Like it doesn't matter what your check is, like you need to start the habit. It's like,
Yeah, there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, and they just always saved like one gold piece when they brought home 10. They always saved one. Pay yourself first. So why don't we go home stretch and hit our last topic, our disability income insurance topic. So it sounds like no one has come through and maybe given a presentation about, so it's kind of common, there's really two companies that are the best with disability income insurance, in our opinion, would be Northwestern Mutual, who we can offer exclusively. So because we have on our business card, no one else can broker them out, only we can. And then we can broker everyone else. So there's another company called Guardian, and Guardian and Northwestern have a special definition for people in the medical field. I won't bore you with the details, but those are the best two companies we think for disability insurance, Northwestern Mutual and Guardian. So a lot of times you'll hear like a Guardian insurance rep comes out and kind of gives their pitch about disability insurance. So why these companies offer you the ability to insure your income before you're really necessarily making it is they recognize you have this huge runway of unearned income. So let's say you just made $100,000 for 40 years with no inflation, no raises. That's $4 million you're going to make in your career. So y'all are worth, millions and millions of dollars with your education levels and just your opportunity. So if you ever hear someone like, oh, I'm worth more dead than alive to my spouse, right, with life insurance, no, you're going to make $4, $5, $10 million. So, but you're not making it yet. And one of the risks to your financial plan, but also to your careers and paying off your student loans, all that stuff, is if you became sick or hurt and unable to work. So you're paying all this money to get this great education, where you're going to make more money. And if you could not work due to sickness or injury, then you have no paycheck. So the plan just falls apart, right? Student loans, they don't stop asking you to pay. Your financial plan, right out, talked about start saving early. A few years you aren't working, you're missing out on that. So these companies allow people in the medical field to insure their income before they're even making it. Which again might sound kind of weird, like, well, why would I need that? Because I'm not even earning money yet. Why would I pay 20, 30, 40 bucks to insure it? And it's because they'll let you lock in more than you're making now. So as soon as you're making that money, you're already covered. You've locked in the lowest rates, locked in your age, locked in your health. They'll even give you the ability to add more later without reviewing your health. So I know this is kind of insurance-y, but that's the crux of insurance, is it's all rated on your age and your health. And so you all have a special definition. It's called medical own occupation. There's different ways where if you were maybe partially disabled, and I'm getting a little in the weeds, but if you're partially disabled, you could actually choose to be fully disabled. Because if you can't do the majority of your duties, then you can basically just say, I can't work. Accountants, lawyers, financial planners, they don't get these kind of definitions. It's very particular to medical people. So I think it's worth learning more about. If anything, that's one thing that a lot of people in a medical school degree would get some coverage before they're even graduating. We won't end on that because that's so boring. So. The way I know, worse than saving, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, right? The way I normally pitch it is like, do it so we shut up about it, is my crass way to pitch that.
Does that make sense though? Why do we even talk about that?
So if you're making $100,000, you're making about $6,000 a month after tax. If you were sick, hurt, couldn't work, the policy, the insurance company literally pays you that $6,000. So it's not health insurance, right? It's not life insurance, it's disability income insurance. And your employer, when you do become full-time employed, so when you get this full benefit package, We can help you audit. You'll have private 401k. You'll have probably like a group life insurance, probably like 1 times your salary. So if you die, someone gets, 100 grand or whatever the case might be. And then you'll have group health, hopefully, right? Health insurance and group disability insurance. So your employer normally insures half of your paycheck. You normally don't have to go get all this on your own. Your employer is giving you kind of half of everything you need. 1 retirement account, you probably need like 3. You have 1 retirement account, a little bit of life insurance, health insurance, which is great, and a little bit of disability. And then on your personal plan, you supplement all that. And if you leave your employer, all those benefits go away. Your 401k, you'd be allowed to take with you to another job, but all the insurances go away. So that's also why it's important to have all your individual stuff, because you own that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So like if you had half your disability from your employer and then half on your own, and say then you went out to work on your own or something, could you change it to make it full coverage?
No, that's that's why at least you'd have your own half. Your group stuff would go away. And then even an individual insurer would want to see 1 to 2 years of proof of income before they'd offer you more. So it's really important to have individual as soon as you can get it, because if you open your own practice, probably be uninsurable until you can show that you're making money. Yeah, so the group stuff doesn't go.
You know what the average salary is coming out of this program?
It's like really dependent on who you work for and like what part of the country you work in.
About 60
But I
to
think-
85 or so.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big width spectrum.
Yeah.
So like if you're in a rural area or something where there's a high need,
Yeah.
you're gonna go up. If you work in like a skilled nursing facility, you're gonna go up like.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the job.
Mhm.
I heard there's a pretty high need in the rural areas in Colorado, at least.
Nevada, do you have the best?
Really
Yeah, Las Vegas has the highest paying.
interesting.
But yeah, it's around, it's a pretty area now.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're at, like the time.
It's probably fairly quickly upward mobility, I would assume.
Or no. I mean, I think it definitely goes
What
up.
you wanna do.
Depends what you want to do.
If you want to be a supervisor, manager, director, sure. If you just want to continue working with the people.
Yeah,
But we all want to work with kids, which is like not the highest.
yeah.
Sure.
You guys aren't in it for the money. I mean, the money's nice, but like, you guys don't go to 3 years of school because you don't care about what you do, right?
Yeah.
At least you're making some, it's not like
Yeah.
minimum here.
Yeah, it's all.
Well, you
Well,
deserve
still
to
a
care.
fair salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And when do you guys have to pick that by? Or do you just go to your field work and stuff? In other words,
Like as far as what you specialize in,
yeah, you have to choose
specialize
that?
on the job.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
nothing.
So last thing we wanted to do was send out a survey, like a survey monkey, just to get your guys' feedback. It seemed like 5 questions.
Yeah.
We're going to make it this afternoon. So we haven't even made it. But just to get your feedback on like what was most helpful, what you wish we had covered. It's probably, I think we can make it where we don't know who answered it. You know what I mean? So those guys
Everyone's
suck.
gonna rip us this one.
Yeah.
I sucked.
Yeah. And then we'll have an option there for anyone that wants to have the opportunity to follow up with us. And again, a follow-up could be as simple as like a quick phone call if you have like one-on-one questions. It could be offering to take you through the planning process. That's normally 2 conversations. We don't charge for that. So how we're paid is if we help with insurance, it's old school commission. So it's baked into the premium cost. On investments, we're normally paid in general on an annual basis. And so we don't charge a fee for time or ideas. So we kind of see that as our wrap fee, our value add, and our time is, paid for through helping you get going. But even if you want a couple quick questions over the phone, you don't have to go through the whole planning process. But we'll send you that, and then the people that end up listening, same thing. They can just indicate whether or not they would ever want to follow up, and you'll have our information too. I think I gave. Who didn't get a card?
Oh, I didn't.
Did not?
No.
You did?
No, I didn't.
You
Oh,
can get
the other guy that left. We
Yeah.
really bored her.
Here, I'll give them mine.
Okay, cool.
Brianna has your contact info, so if you just want to send her the survey.
The survey? Perfect.
We can distribute it to everyone.
Thank you. You two were
That'd
on
be
the
great.
email, right? You were the, yep.
Yes,
Sure,
yeah.
Anything else?
I think
How'd
that's
we
it.
do?
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, how
Great.
did we do?
Thanks for having us.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully, Say it again.
I'm like clueless to everything.
Most people
That's nice, like-
are actually the one people we try not to work with are people that think they know. Like attorneys tend to be like they know everything, you know. So we
For
like to
those
work
of you listening online, the password's financial. Thank you.
we like to work with folks that are really good at what they do and see the value in having this offloaded, you know. Yeah. It's normally like a guy that might be my age that's like in finance, you know, kind of like whose ego's bigger type of thing. Or like, yeah, do your thing. We don't care.
Like whatever. Spend your money wasted.
Yep.
Oh my god.